The two starving cubs. The night on planet Velara was cold and silent. The wind moved across the broken metal buildings like a lonely ghost. In the middle of this ruined land walked a young orphan girl named Lyra. She was only 12 years old, yet her eyes looked older because she had seen too much pain. Lyra's village had been destroyed in the Great War between humans and dragons. People believed dragons were monsters who burned everything they saw. Lyra never questioned it, she only knew she had lost her family and her home. Now she survived by searching old bunkers and ruins for food packets and clean water. One quiet night, while looking for shelter, Lyra heard a strange sound. It did not sound like metal breaking or wind crying, it sounded like soft crying. She stopped walking and listened again. The sound was coming from an old bunker half buried under the sand and dust. Lyra knew bunkers were dangerous, many still had traps or broken machines. But the crying sound touched her heart. She slowly stepped inside, her small flashlight shaking in her hand. Inside the bunker, Lyra found something she never expected. Two small dragon cubs were lying on the floor, weak and shaking. Their scales were dirty, their wings were too small to move, and their ribs showed through their bodies. They looked more scared than dangerous. For a moment Lyra froze. Her mind remembered all the stories adults told her about dragons. But these two were not monsters, they were just children. And they looked like they had not eaten for many days. Lyra slowly reached into her pocket and took out her last piece of dry ration bread. She broke it into two and placed the pieces in front of the cubs. The cubs looked at her with big golden eyes, unsure but hopeful. Then they quickly ate the food, as if they feared someone would take it away. Lyra noticed burn marks and metal shackles on their tiny legs. Someone had chained them, someone had hurt them. This thought made her feel angry and sad at the same time. She whispered softly, "It's okay, I will not hurt you." The cubs moved closer to her, one resting its head on her shoe. Lyra felt something warm in her heart, something she had forgotten. It was the feeling of trust. She stayed with them for a long time, feeding them drops of water from her bottle. They slowly relaxed, making low soft sounds like purring. Lyra smiled for the first time in many weeks. But suddenly the ground outside began to shake. A deep tremble came from the sky, followed by a loud roar. Lyra froze and quickly turned off her flashlight. The two cubs pressed themselves against her legs, frightened. Outside, a huge shadow moved across the bunker entrance. Wings so large they blocked the moonlight. Something powerful was searching the area. Each heavy footstep made dust fall from the ceiling. Lyra's heart beat fast. She grabbed the cubs and pulled them into a dark corner behind an old metal crate. She whispered, "Don't make a sound, I won't let anything take you." The massive creature outside sniffed the air. Lyra held her breath, terrified it would find them. For a long moment, everything was silent except the soft trembling of the cubs. Then the shadow slowly moved away. The roar faded into the distance. But Lyra knew something very dangerous was looking for these little dragons. And she knew she could not leave them alone now. That night, an orphan girl and two dragon cubs became a small, fragile family. But Lyra did not know that her act of kindness would change the fate of the entire planet. The secret of the Dragon War. Lyra woke early the next morning, the cold wind still moving through the ruined bunker. The two dragon cubs, Arrow and Mira, were curled up beside her, breathing softly. Their small bodies were stronger now, but their wings were still weak and fragile. Lyra smiled and stroked their heads gently, feeling a strange connection she had never known. She decided to explore the bunker, hoping to find more food or something useful. The cubs followed her closely, their golden eyes alert to every sound. The walls were covered with old marks and scratches, and metal doors hung broken on their hinges. Lyra carefully opened one door and found a room filled with old human records and strange devices. She picked up a dusty data pad, turning it on with a soft beep. Images and text flashed across the screen, showing battles, dragons, and humans. Lyra could not believe what she saw. The record said the war between humans and dragons did not start because dragons attacked. Humans had stolen dragon eggs from their nests across the planet. The dragons fought to get their young back, but humans lied to everyone, making it look like dragons were the monsters. Lyra's heart ached as she read the truth. She looked at Arrow and Mira, realizing they might be royal hatchlings, stolen and abandoned. The cubs chirped softly, as if they understood the words. Lyra whispered, "I will keep you safe, no one will hurt you again." As she searched the room, she noticed a small strange drone lying on the floor. It was half metal, half something organic, moving slightly as if alive. Lyra frowned, her fingers touching its cold surface. The drone's sensors suddenly lit up, scanning the room. Arrow and Mira hissed softly, curling around Lyra protectively. Lyra realized the drone was not human, not dragon, and definitely dangerous. She hid behind a large metal container, holding her breath. The drone hovered and made a low humming noise, then flew toward a vent. Lyra exhaled slowly, her heart still racing. She knew someone or something was still hunting the cubs. Days passed, and Lyra continued to care for the cubs, feeding them scraps and water. Arrow and Mira were growing stronger, their small wings beginning to flap. They followed her everywhere, trusting her completely. Lyra began to notice their intelligence, the way they watched her and learned quickly. It was as if they understood more than she expected. One afternoon, Lyra discovered a hidden map inside the bunker. It showed secret dragon territories and old human outposts. She realized the war had left many secrets buried, and some were dangerous. The drone that had scanned the bunker before was only the beginning. Other forces might still be searching for Arrow and Mira. Lyra felt fear, but also determination. She was alone, yet she had responsibility now. She could not let the cubs fall into the hands of humans or the unknown hunters. Her small hands held the cubs close. She whispered, "We are together, no one can take you away from me." That night, the stars above Velara shone brighter than usual. Lyra sat outside the bunker with Arrow and Mira on her lap. She thought about the stories humans told about dragons. The stories were wrong, she realized. The dragons were not monsters, they were creatures of power, loyalty, and intelligence. Lyra knew she had to prepare for what was coming. The drone was a warning, a sign that danger was near. But she also knew that the cubs, though small, were strong and special. Together, they would face whatever threat came next. And Lyra felt a strange hope, something she had not felt in a long time. The secret of the dragon war was no longer hidden. And the orphan girl and her 2 cubs were ready to uncover the truth. The hunters arrive. The morning sky over Velara was gray and heavy. Lyra awoke to the soft cries of Arrow and Mira. They were restless, their small bodies trembling. She stroked their heads and whispered, "Don't worry, I will keep you safe." Lyra knew the drone was only the beginning. Something dangerous was searching for the cubs. She could feel it in the air, a tension that made her chest tight. She decided to explore the bunker's tunnels, hoping to find a safer place. Arrow and Mira followed closely, their tiny claws clicking on the metal floor. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A deep rumble came from outside, louder than any storm she had felt. Lyra froze, clutching the cubs to her chest. Through a crack in the wall, she saw them, the hunters. They were not human, not dragon, but something else entirely. Their bodies were made of metal and living tissue, moving like a nightmare. Their eyes glowed red, scanning everything as they moved. Each step made the ground shiver. Lyra's heart raced faster than ever. She grabbed Arrow and Mira and ran through a narrow tunnel. The hunters followed, their scanning devices tracking heat and movement. Lyra's legs ached, but she did not stop. She crawled over broken pipes and slipped through dark corridors. The cubs clung to her, refusing to leave. Even though they were small, they hissed and tried to bite the hunters. Their tiny flames flickered weakly, lighting the tunnel in orange sparks. Lyra found a small cave deeper inside the ruins. She pushed the cubs inside and blocked the entrance with old crates. Her chest heaving, she whispered, "Stay here, I will protect you." The hunters stopped at the entrance, their red eyes scanning every corner. Lyra held her breath, praying they would not find a way inside. Arrow and Mira chirped softly, their small wings trembling. Then, something strange happened. The cubs' fire grew brighter, and a soft roar echoed in the cave. The hunters recoiled, unsure of the cubs' sudden strength. Lyra realized the cubs were more powerful than she thought. Even young, they had the power to fight. But more hunters were coming, more than they could face alone. Just when Lyra feared all hope was lost, the sky above Velara tore open. Hundreds of giant dragons appeared, their wings casting shadows over the ruins. The ground shook with their landing. A powerful roar filled the air, louder than the hunters' machines. Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief. The dragons were real, and they were coming for the cubs. A massive golden dragon landed in front of the cave. Its eyes were sharp and full of emotion. It studied Lyra and the cubs carefully. Arrow and Mira ran to the golden dragon, their small voices crying. Lyra felt tears in her eyes. The golden dragon bowed its massive head. It was as if the leader of the dragon army had arrived to claim its young. The hunters froze, unsure of what to do. They had never faced creatures like this before. Lyra knew the battle would be coming soon. But for the first time, she felt hope. She was not alone, and neither were Arrow and Mira. That night, the orphan girl, the two cubs, and the approaching dragon army prepared for what would come. The hunters would not give up easily. But Lyra and her small family had something stronger than machines and weapons. They had courage, love, and dragons on their side. And Lyra knew, no matter what happened next, her life and the cubs' lives were about to change forever. The dragon army. The sky above Velara was filled with wings. Hundreds of dragons circled in the air, their roars echoing like thunder. Lyra's heart pounded as she held Arrow and Mira tightly. The cubs chirped excitedly, sensing their family had arrived. A massive golden dragon landed in front of her, its scales shining like fire in the fading sun. Its eyes were deep and wise, filled with power and emotion. Lyra gasped, recognizing this dragon as Zarathion, the leader of the dragon kin. The smaller dragons ran to him, their cries loud and full of relief. Zarathion lowered his head, examining Lyra carefully. No human had ever touched his children with such care. He sensed her courage and her pure heart. Lyra stepped forward, unsure what to say. I found them alone and hungry," she whispered. "They were hurt. I just wanted to help." The golden dragon tilted his massive head, listening. His eyes softened as he looked at the cubs curled around her. The other dragons landed around them, forming a protective circle. Each one powerful, each one watching her with cautious curiosity. Zarathion roared, a sound that shook the mountains and made the hunters step back. It was a roar of warning, a roar of claim. The dragon army had come not to destroy, but to protect. The hunters, the biometal soldiers, froze in fear. They had never seen dragons move with such speed and intelligence. Even their weapons could not harm creatures of this size and power. Lyra looked at the dragons, awe filling her small body. She realized they were not monsters as humans said. They were intelligent, loyal, and strong beyond imagination. She felt a deep connection to them. A bond forming between human and dragon that went beyond words. Zarathion stepped closer to Lyra, his warm breath brushing her face. "For saving our children," he rumbled. "You are no longer alone." The words amazed her. No human had ever offered her family, protection, or respect. Yet this dragon, a creature of legend, was offering her all three. Lyra hugged Arrow and Mira, tears running down her cheeks. The cubs chirped happily, wrapping their tiny wings around her. She felt their warmth and love, something she had never felt before. The other dragons lowered their heads, creating a safe space around her. Even the smallest dragons nodded and purred. Lyra understood, they were accepting her as one of their own. The hunters tried to move forward, but the dragons surrounded them. Flames, claws, and roars made them retreat. Lyra realized the danger was over, at least for now. She felt safe for the first time in her life. The dragons were her family, her protectors, and her allies. Zarathion looked at Lyra one last time. "Your courage saved them, and in return, you have our loyalty," he said. Lyra nodded, speechless. She had never imagined that one act of kindness could bring her so far. The cubs chirped again, climbing onto her shoulders. And Lyra knew, deep in her heart, that her life had changed forever. The dragon army roared in unison. A sound of triumph and protection. Lyra smiled, holding Arrow and Mira tightly. She was no longer an orphan, no longer alone. The dragon kin had claimed her as their own. And together, they would face whatever dangers the universe held next. The adoption of the human girl. The morning sun rose over Velara, painting the ruins in gold and orange. Lyra stood on a high cliff, Arrow and Mira at her sides. The dragon army stretched across the valley below, massive wings folded, eyes alert, and scales glinting in the light. The biometal soldiers were gone, their machines destroyed, and their threat ended. Lyra had helped the dragons by using the old human technology in the ruins. She had destroyed the signal tower controlling the soldiers, and now the planet was safe. The dragons circled above her, roaring in celebration. Lyra smiled, feeling the wind brush her face as if it carried the dragon's joy. Arrow and Mira chirped happily, hopping from one foot to the other. Lyra reached down and stroked their heads. "They are safe now, and we are together," she whispered. The cubs nuzzled her hand, their trust complete. Zarathion, the golden leader, descended slowly in front of her. His massive eyes were kind and proud. Lyra felt small but unafraid. He spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that seemed to shake the earth. "For your courage, for your kindness, and for saving our children, you are no longer alone." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. No human had ever said such words to her. No human had ever offered a home, a family, or hope. The other dragons lowered their heads in respect. They surrounded her, creating a circle of protection and honor. Lyra looked at them in awe, realizing she was now part of something far greater than herself. The orphan girl who once wandered alone among ruins had become the chosen one of the dragon kin. Zarathion lowered his massive wing, inviting her to step forward. Lyra hesitated, then climbed onto the dragon's back. Arrow and Mira clung to her, chirping excitedly. The golden dragon lifted into the sky with powerful strokes. Lyra felt the wind rush past her, the freedom of flying filling her heart with joy. She could see the entire valley, the dragons, and the ruins that were once her home. But now it was no longer a place of fear, it was a place of power, hope, and family. The dragon army followed, circling her as if claiming her as their own. Lyra realized that humans had always feared dragons. They never understood them, never tried to know their true nature. But she had, and her courage had changed the hearts of the dragons. She was proof that even one human could make a difference. Even one human could unite species and bring hope to a broken world. As the dragons soared higher, Lyra looked down at the planet she had once thought was lost. She saw the ruins, the scars of war, and the shadows of the past. But she also saw the dragons below, her new family, her protectors, and her allies. She felt proud, strong, and no longer afraid. Her small hands gripped Arrow and Mira. And she whispered, "We are together, forever." The dragons roared again, louder than ever. The sound echoed across the mountains, announcing a new legend. The orphan girl who fed 2 starving dragon cubs had saved their future. And in return, she had gained a family larger than any human one. Lyra looked up at the sky, feeling the warmth of the sun and the power of the dragons. She was no longer an orphan, she was a hero. And her story, the story of courage, kindness, and hope, would live among the stars forever.